We're at Long Beach Comic and Horror Con. Woo! All right, I'm here with Jason Enright from Darby Pop Publishing. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. This has been an awesome show.
Yeah, we're at Long Beach Comic Con, and earlier we got to check out a sweet IDW panel, which you had a lot to do with. You were introducing Darby Pop. How long has Darby Pop been around?
So Darby Pop Publishing is a new imprint at IDW, and we formed in April, but our first series comes out December 11th. And then we have a new series coming out in February and April, and more coming at the end of the rest of 2014.
Fantastic. Sounds like there's a lot going on at Darby Pop.
Yeah,
tell me about this first one coming out December 11th, because it sounded just super cool.
So the first series is called Indestructible. It is written by Jeff Klein, who's the executive producer of Transformers Prime, G.I. Joe Renegades, all sorts of cool animated series. And the idea behind Indestructible is that there's a slacker guy, just like any of us, fun dude, and he is at a video store when it gets robbed. And he knows the lady, he's friends with these people, so he steps up and he's like, "Hey, stop that!" And they shoot him. And because of circumstances, he walks away from it. And the video cameras catch him, and everybody thinks he's a new superhero. Well, in his world, superheroes are these huge celebrities. And so now he's got to decide, am I going to tell the truth, that I'm nobody special, or am I going to take all this fame and fortune that's coming my way and somehow try to survive being indestructible and go out there and make a life out of this? And so it's a comedy. It's sort of a catch-22. Fame and fortune on one side, terribly dangerous life as a superhero, But no, it's really interesting, and that book's got great art by Javi Garrón and Salvi Garcia. We have covers by Jose Lopez and Bernard Chang. It's in stores nationwide December 11th. Make sure you check it out.
And how long is that running for?
That is going to be an ongoing series. We actually just got the script in for issue 5. But it's going to be monthly starting December, every month from IDW.
Okay, and what sets this apart? What's the reason for Darby Pop? What's your purpose?
Sure. Well, so Jeff Klein, like I said, he's a TV guy. And, in TV, you come up with this great idea, and before it's done and it's seen by everybody, 200 people have touched it, But the great thing about comics is that when you make a comic, if it's your idea, it's your brainchild, by the time it's done, there's just 2 or 3 people who work on it, and you really get to be much more involved and much more in control. And so the idea behind this is that Jeff knew that there were a lot of writers who'd worked in movies or TV who, now that comics are the hot new thing, would be interested in getting involved in comics. So he reached out to some of these big-name people he knows, like Eric Garcia, the writer of Matchstick Men, that Nicolas Cage movie, John Raffa, the writer of the Bruce Lee, the Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. And these were friends of his who are writers, and he said, "Hey, have you ever thought of doing a comic book?" And everybody you talked to said, "Oh my God, yeah, I'd love that, but I don't know anything about it." So then Jeff put a team of comic book people together. We have David Wohl, who used to work at Marvel. He works at Aspen now. He's our editor-in-chief. We have Renee Geerlings, who was an editor at Top Cow. She's now our managing editor. We put together this team, we found them artists, we found them cover artists, and we're making these comics. And then the cool thing is we teamed up with IDW to handle all the publishing. So yeah.
And how did you end up hooked up with IDW? Because I know you said that before you were running a comic book shop, and you were actually inspired by coming to cons like this to get out and do it. So how'd this happen?
Well, for my personal story is that I used to run a comic shop, and I came to one of these cons, and there was a panel, and I think it was Sam Humphries was on the panel. And somebody asked everybody asked, "How do I break into comics?" Sam Humphries was just like, "Stop." And he was like, "Nobody's going to open the door for you. Nobody's going to help you. You want to make comics, you have to just go make comics." And that really, that was like a lightning bolt, And that night I went home to my wife and I was like, we're going to make comics, So I created my own company. I started making my own little pamphlets to give out at cons. And eventually that led to me meeting Jeff Klein. And Jeff Klein was like, "You are really great at selling comics. You want to come work for my company?" So I went and I started working with him. And but Darby Pop's deal was that Jeff put this all together, and he was like, "So what are we going to do? Are we going to put this out ourselves? How are we going to do this? And because of his work on Transformers, he knew that IDW did the Transformers books. So we reached out to them and said, hey, would you be interested in working with us? What's great about Darby Pop is we have complete editorial control. We're our own house. We make everything, and then we give it to IDW, and they help us promote it and sell it. They put us on panels and at shows and all that. So they're really helping us out. Yeah.
That's awesome. And your wife now is kind of a big deal too, right?
Yeah. Maybe you've heard of Mairghread Scott. She writes for Transformers and G.I. Joe and Ultimate Spider-Man, all those animated series. And then she also is now doing a couple different series at IDW. She did Transformers Prime Rage of the Dinobots and Transformers Prime Beast Hunters, which are new comics from them that basically explore the untold stories from the show. So the Transformers show, in that the Autobots head out to Earth to fight the Decepticons, but she's telling the stories of all the characters left behind on Cybertron, on the dead planet. So that's pretty cool. And she gets to work with the characters of the Dinobots, Grimlock and all them, which are really fun, like big brutish characters. So that's really cool.
That's awesome. So, just to close out, seeing as being at cons like this is kind of what got you into the business, what do you say for the people who are coming to cons or who can't come out to cons, who live in Iowa somewhere and want to make comics? What do you say?
Well, basically, here's the deal. If you want to make comics, nobody's going to hold your hand. Nobody's going to help you. It's tough. It's tough advice. It's tough love. But if you're sitting there and you've got an idea for a comic or you've got an idea for something, you just have to go and make it happen. There are tons of resources online. You can find artists. You can find other people involved. There are websites like Digital Webbing where you can find artists, or DeviantArt. You have to do it yourself. Nobody's going to help you. And start small. Do a webcomic. Do something tiny. Just print 500 and come to one of these shows and sell them. You're going to start meeting people. Those people are going to introduce you to other people, and doors will open. Things will happen. But if you're sitting in your basement saying, I want to make comics, you're never going to make comics. You have to make comics and keep making comics and keep pushing, and then eventually it's going to happen.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. Now tell us where to find you on the internet.
All right. You can find Darby Pop at darbypop.com, facebook.com/Darby Pop Publishing, or on Twitter at Darby Pop Comics. The first book hits on December 11th. Make sure you check it out at your local comic shop.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.